All right, today on the podcast, I'm joined by Joe Coughlin. He's the co-founder and editor-in-chief of the Record Community News Group in Illinois, I believe, right? Chicago area? Is that
Yeah,
where you're at?
northern suburbs.
I figured. Awesome, awesome. Yeah, thanks for being here, Joe. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day, man.
Yeah, no problem at all. Thanks for having me. Thanks for reaching out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, so we kind of just met a few minutes ago, so I don't know a whole lot about you. So I'd love if you could tell me and the audience just kind of about your background and career in local media, just in your own words. I'd like to hear it.
Yeah, no problem. I'm born and raised in the suburbs of Chicago, so always been around these parts. South suburbs is where I was born and raised. Went to Illinois in Champaign, and then got into journalism there. I didn't really have a big journalism background before then at all, but I liked writing. Went down that path and found journalism. Started in the sports journalism field at the town paper there in Champaign, the News Gazette, and really just started to like the community news aspect, starting with the sports. That built out a little bit after graduation and when I was freelancing back in around my hometown in the south suburbs. And then I caught on with this company that I worked with for 15 years, Second Century Media, and we did community weeklies all over the suburbs. And I was on the editorial and kind of moved my way up there. Really fell in love with the community news aspect, which when I think back to my teenage years, didn't think that ever happened, but really liked the impact that made, and still got to do sports too. So it wasn't like I had to abandon that, which was nice. And then that company closed at the beginning of 2020, kind of led to the forming of the Record and what we've been doing for the past 5 years up in the northern suburbs.
Awesome. Yeah, and that was kind of my next question. I'd love to hear kind of that story. What led to you kind of founding it, and maybe just talk a little bit about the North Shore Record or the Record North Shore. I'm not sure
Yeah, sure.
how to say it. Yeah.
So yeah, it was kind of out of the ashes of 22nd Century Media. Got with a couple colleagues after digesting that info during the pandemic that we didn't have jobs. And what do we want to do? I knew I wanted to at least keep reporting to the people I'd been reporting with and for the past like decade up in the Wilmette area, Wilmette, Winnetka, Glenview, that area. I'd been up there for since like 2010, and so we decided to come back and kind of build something based on what we learned about community news, how we wanted to build community news. I had been reading a lot before even that other company shut down about new models, how it's working. 22nd Century Media was 90-95% advertising, so it was a very kind of legacy model that we went with. Obviously, that shattered in COVID. How can we build a new model and just keep reporting and see where it goes? And that was how the Record came about. We launched 6 months after that company closed. We started with a Kickstarter campaign because we had $0 other than our own kind of time and efforts, and we were off and running from there. A lot of things have changed in the 5 years, but kind of that basis of community news, reliable, responsible, all that good stuff based on journalism fundamentals are the same.
So you kind of mentioned there, the pandemic kind of upending models, which everybody listening to this is probably pretty familiar with. What is the model now? You said it was primarily just ad driven. Like what's it look like now? The business
Yeah,
model.
the records model is really based on something I heard, I think whether it was on a podcast or I read it in an article back 5, 6 years ago called revenue promiscuity. I love that term, and that just revenue coming in a lot of different ways. And 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 all those ways you can kind of control from an ethical foundation. So that model, while it wasn't perfect to start, of course, we had to learn certain things. We were 3 journalists, so we didn't know anything about grant funding, grant writing, but that's now a major part is grants, reader revenue, which is mostly our membership program, sponsorships, our partnerships with the business community, and we do events as well. So we're kind of pulling it in from a lot of different and trying to make those all spread that burden out as much as possible. So if one were to really collapse because of some market force, we've got a bit of give.
I like revenue promiscuity. Did I say that right? Promiscuity. I haven't heard that before. I like that. I read something a while back. You kind of reminded me of it. They did some study, I think, for local media orgs, or maybe it was just media organizations in general. And they said the sweet spot was between like 2 and 7 revenue sources. So if you had less than two, it's not a good thing. If you have more than seven or 6 or 7, whatever the number was, you might be spread too thin.
Yeah.
But it was kind of like on how, yeah, maybe spreading it around and having multiple levers to pull is a kind of a good tactic to go after. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, what's the organization look like today? Like reporting area, like staff size. You don't have to share like revenue numbers or anything, but just like what kind of scale are you operating at?
Well, first, I mean, we're transparent. That was one of our big things. So if you want to know budget numbers, I can hit you with them. I'm fine with that. But it is different from when we started. We could not those first 2 years between 2020 and 2022. We were finding our footing in terms of the business aspect of it. The journalism was always there. That hasn't skipped a beat, but trying to fund 3 people off a Kickstarter didn't last long. And one of them was part time. But Megan and Marty, my other two co founders, are not with the company anymore, like actively. Martin is still our most prolific freelancer, God bless him, but they're not full time. So that was the biggest change in the company is kind of I was the one who stayed with it and we weren't all getting paid all the time. And those were tough times, just trying to figure it out. But then some things started to work. I think when you're building probably any new business, but in this industry, you need that runway to prove your model, prove that readers will support it. That's our basic premise. Readers will support good journalism for themselves and their neighbors. You need the runway to get there and prove that, and I think we have now. But to start, we just didn't have that runway. So it's a lot different in terms of the people who are here. But the past 2 years, from 2022 to now, I guess that's 3 years, we've added a director of revenue, a director of development who's in charge of kind of revenue operations. We've added a community reporter, and we're expanding. We've expanded once into Highland Park, and we're expanding again into Skokie, which are two kind of sizable suburbs in the northern area of Chicago. So we're on the move, and a lot of things are happening pretty fast now.
Awesome. So I was also curious when you said you did a Kickstarter to launch it. I don't think I've talked to anyone that's taken that approach, which is a cool idea. How did you first of all, how much did you raise and what kind of runway did you get out of that, or were you looking for to get out of that
Kickstarters are
when you
scary
first launched? Yeah,
because you have to hit that mark to get the revenue. It's not like a GoFundMe where it comes into your bank account. You have to hit a mark before you take it all. So you got to be kind of strategic with what number you set. So we just thought, and I hope we're criticized for this left and right because maybe we were wrong, but I think we set it at like 50,000 just so we could get a few paychecks, and then hey, we're going to get a big grant. No, no big deal. That was kind of our. We were naive for sure, but so we set it I think at 50, and I think we got about 58 just to get us off the ground to fund our website development and things like that. We got the idea from another Chicago newsroom, also that came out of a closed operation, Block Club Chicago, which some of those founders came from DNA Info, which shuttered just a couple years before our company did. So we talked to them early. We're like, we like your path. We know you guys are three journalists or journalistic minded, and they kind of helped us at least follow certain footsteps to get there. And the Kickstarter is one of them. And I like that idea. It was stressful, but we did get there. So yeah,
that's as soon as you said you followed a different organization in Chicago, my brain was like, he's going to say Block Club. He's going to say Block Club. They just pop up again and again. I need to get somebody from there on the show too
yeah,
and talk to them.
they're
But
great.
yeah, they're doing good stuff. Yeah, they're doing good stuff over there. So in terms of, you talked about the revenue, the different revenue things. Have you experimented with stuff that hasn't worked? Like what's worked and what hasn't? Like you said, reader revenue, business partnerships and stuff.
Yeah. When we sent in our first year, maybe it was halfway through, like 60 letters to every family foundation. You find them all on those sites like GuideStar or other nonprofit reporting sites. And we sent a letter to everyone in our coverage area, maybe a little behind it, and we got like zero back. So it was just the wrong approach and maybe at the wrong time, or maybe just how our strategy and what we sent wasn't right. But that certainly didn't work. I mean, we put a lot of time and resources in that. So that's something that sticks out to me. Some things that have though, we've tried, our events have been really successful And that's a surprise because I'm not an event organizer. Our director of revenue, who came on 2 years ago, is not an event organizer. But I think having some creativity with our events and having some really focusing not on pushing money, 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 give us money, this, all this for like a gala or something like that. It's really just this is going to be something cool, and maybe you have to buy a ticket, and that's the revenue. Like for instance, earlier this year we did a kind of a rip off of the show, Hot Ones, where everybody
Yeah.
paid a ticket and they ate hot wings, which God bless them. I don't know why you'd pay to do that, but they did, and we packed this local restaurant, and it was just a big community unifier and connector, as well as a fundraiser. And I think that has been very satisfying. I think for us as we get to play both ends of that one.
That's great. You you mentioned going after grant funding and stuff, and now I see it on your website. I was going to ask if you guys are a nonprofit or a for profit, but I see you're a nonprofit.
Mhm.
Was that kind of you kind of had that in your sights out of the gate? You might have said that before. I might have missed it.
No, that's okay. I don't think I did explicitly. And it was in our sites. I liked really the idea that integrity is kind of built into a nonprofit. Like to keep
Hmm.
that status, you have to do certain things, number one. And then also, we partnered with a third party called the Institute for Nonprofit News. They make you do a couple extra things to stay into that group. So it was like forcing our hand. And also, I think that helps with your credibility with the community. But as a journalist, I really wanted to really keep political funding out of it and not have to rely on that. Obviously, we can't even touch it with the nonprofit status, and things like that were important to me. So I think that built-in integrity really attracted me, and then also the grant funding, donations, things like that help with that revenue promiscuity idea.
Yeah. Yeah, I have people on from both nonprofits, for profits, and I'm always like interested. There's benefits, drawbacks to both. I feel like,
For sure.
and if anybody listening is interested, the Institute for Nonprofit News, I just had their chief network officer Jonathan Keeling on the show a few episodes ago. So if you're listening and you want to learn more about them, go back and listen to that one also.
Jonathan's great. I'm glad you had him on.
Yeah, he's a great guy. He's I was just going through the podcast we did to dig some clips out, like to put up on social media. He's like a clip machine. He's funny. He's smart. He's high energy. I like that guy a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um. So my apologies. I have to ask it in every interview. Um. About AI because it's everywhere and it's
Sure.
very, I guess, controversial and people have different thoughts on it. So I'd love to get your take on it. If you guys are using any tools or workflows, or if you're staying away from it, and people are all over the board on it. So I like hearing how you're thinking about it.
I'd say right now we are not using any terms tools that would like that are obvious. I think transcription is a form of AI, and I think every journalist uses that. So
Hmm.
that's in play all the time with us and our myself and our reporters. But we're not using anything actively. That's not to say we're not open to it. I think my personal view is AI is making its way into every industry. Journalism's a big one.
Hmm.
Just having that human at the forefront of guiding it, I think, is most important. So 2 years ago, man, was it 2 years ago? Year and a half ago, we trialed an AI programmer developing one from a major tech company, which I signed a contract that I can't talk about too much. But it was they were building something and it was specifically for publishers, and they wanted a bunch of folks to trial it. And we were part of that. And I thought that was important. I was glad to do it just to have our voice heard. And when we did it, basically, it wasn't where it needed to be for publication. Like it took longer for us to go through it with a microscope to make sure, and we learned quickly we had to because there were errors in there that were very bad for journalists. Misspelling of names, mispronouns, like you know, not
Hmm.
not things that are worth printing or possible to print. It wasn't there yet, but it was growing and I could see it. And now I'm seeing tools out there that are definitely beneficial. I don't know about straight to publication things. I don't think it's there yet, but things that can, I think Google has a couple tools, one called Pinpoint. I think that's the one that can go through thousands of pages of public documents that you just secured and say, this name was mentioned 12 times and on this page. And these are the 5 dates where this person was, or this address was mentioned. And maybe it's police documents where police responded to this address and want to skip to those pages. Like That's very useful and very helpful in investigative reporting or data reporting. And so I think AI can definitely help newsrooms, and I hope those products and tools become more accessible.
Yeah, yeah. Most people in the space that I talk to that are actively using it, almost nobody's using it for creating content at this point, and I don't think they should be, at least not yet either. It's more like speeding up things in their business, and like you said, the transcription. One thing I've thought for a while with AI is that it has a branding problem. Like transcription's been around forever, like these auto ones, and it's AI. But before AI was everywhere, nobody had like an issue with it. You're like, oh, this is a really cool tool. If
100%.
it just had a different name, AI, like some new kind of software or something, I think people might be more open to it. But everybody gets the Terminator in their head and everything, you know. And then you see this AI slop stuff, and it's just like, ugh, this just flooding the market, and it's just gross.
Yeah, yeah, we're
But
on
yeah,
the same
cool.
page
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, definitely. There's a lot of interesting stuff like that happening too. But yeah, not as far as content creation. Yeah. So I've been playing with this question. I've been asking it to everybody. If you suddenly got $1 million influx with no strings attached, what's one kind of unconventional thing you would try or spend it on with, or just say no budget at all, a huge budget influx?
Yeah. Man, I would okay, I think I got 2. Can I give you 2 different and probably pretty
Of
distinct?
course,
I don't know if this is
definitely.
too original, like, because basically the premise of this one is expansion. But I think I try to collaborate around the whole city. So basically the suburbs form like this crescent around the city, right? Like a half moon. And I try to get all of them together, put little bureaus in like every, so space them out just so every suburb gets some sort of coverage. Cook County is just so big, and a lot of the Chicago suburbs just have really been lost their local paper. They've lost their local news, and I think most of them, at least the ones closest to the city, used to have one. So it's like they know what they're missing, and now they don't have it anymore. So to bring it back to all of them and maybe somehow create some sort of collective with that, uh, that'd be awesome. That'd be so cool, and I think it would be worth it. And I'm a suburb guy, so that means a lot to me. Another thing I would do or think about doing is we have a youth and journalism workshop over the summer. Anybody in the community, like a teenager who's interested in news, they don't have to be like want to be a journalist, but who's interested in learning more about it. We try to really show them behind the scenes of what it is to work in a newsroom, build a story, what an actual story looks like with attribution and stuff, so it helps them identify misinformation. I would really love to just blow that out and really make it a program that really preaches how to find your sources and trust those sources and identify mis and disinformation and just be able to call it out and shrug it off rather than spit it out to your neighbors and spread it even further, which I think is a huge, and it's really not the reader's fault, in my opinion, a huge problem in communities everywhere.
Yeah, yeah, it is. Yeah, I need to like I said, I've been playing with that question and everybody's like, "Well, I don't know if this is unconventional," but so I had a similar answer from a lady this morning. She said, "Yeah, basically expansion." Then she said something very similar too. I think she has a newspaper also, and she has one page dedicated just for the local high school, and all their reporting goes in it, which is I thought that was kind of a cool idea. I think see it in print and everything. But yeah, that's some great answers, man. Great. Well, we've gone through just about everything. I did have another one come up since you're from Chicago and you're a sports guy. You Cubs or Sox? What
I'm a
are you going
Cubs
with?
fan. I've been a Cub. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
a diehard Cubs fan. Yeah, so it's been a tough couple days, but hey, we're in the playoffs again. I guess that's good.
yeah. I haven't been following so much. I have two toddlers, so I don't have time to follow sports as much as I used to. But I didn't see what happened the last couple days.
The Brew.
Apologies.
That's okay. We made it to the next round, the second round, and the Brewers have taken it to us for a couple games.
If it makes you feel any better, I'm a lifelong Colorado native, and I'm not even going to talk about our baseball team right now. It's
I
just
understand.
depressing.
I understand.
But the Broncos took out the Eagles the other day, so that was cool.
Oh, what
I'll
a
take
game!
that as
No,
a win.
yeah,
Yeah, it was. It was a good one.
that was awesome.
Um, all right, man. This has been great. Where can people find you online? What do you want me to link to? Where do you want anything you want to promote or anything like that?
Yeah, if you're interested in the suburbs of Chicago news, northern suburbs specifically, you can go to the record northshore.org. We publish daily. We're so local, though. If you're not interested in that, there's probably nothing for you. We're very local, so you can find us there. You can find me. I'm on X at Joe C23, or email me, Joe at the record NS, which stands for North Shore.
Great, man. I'll link to all that stuff. So if you're listening, you can just scroll down and click on any of those things and check it out. Yeah, it's a really cool publication. Joe, thank you so much for your time. This was really fun. It was good talking to you too, getting to meet you.
Yeah, very fun. Nice to meet you. Thank you very much.
Yep, cool. All right.